The landscape of Rajputana is unforgiving and beautiful. For centuries, this harsh terrain served as ancient India's ultimate shield, absorbing the shockwaves of foreign invasions. Holding the line across this frontier was a lineage that claimed a literal mandate to protect the land, the Chauhan dynasty. The origins of the Chauhans are steeped in a powerful myth that defined their identity. According to poet Chand Bardai, they were summoned from the earth. In the Agni Kund legend, sage Vashishta created 4 warrior clans from a ritual fire on Mount Abu to destroy dark forces. The Chauhans were the final, fiercest clan to emerge from those flames. Historical records point to a more grounded origin. The 12th century Bijolia inscription traces their bloodline to the Vatsa Gotra, an elite Brahmin lineage that transitioned from scholars to kings. These dual origins, one supernatural, the other archival, fused into a singular identity. Taking the throne, the Chauhans positioned themselves as defenders. Their political authority was built on the promise of martial protection at any cost. That culture required an economic foundation. Under Vasudev Chauhan, the dynasty established its power base around the salt-rich waters of Sambar Lake, securing the wealth necessary to fund a growing army. With wealth secured, they needed defense. King Ajayaraj shifted the strategic center of gravity to the Aravalli Hills, founding the impregnable capital city of Ajmer, guarded by the massive stone fortifications of Garbithli. Ajayaraj also built a formalized economy. He took the pioneering step of minting his own copper and silver coins, signaling a sophisticated administrative state. These coins were unique for their time. Ajayaraj stamped them with his own seal, alongside the name of his queen, Somaladevi, projecting distinct cultural confidence. Salt revenue from Sambar, the fortifications of Ajmer, and a stable sovereign currency provided the Chauhans with the infrastructure of a centralized state. By the 12th century, they had moved past regional clan status, operating as the dominant administrative power in the Aravalli Hills. That empire continued to flourish. By the time Vigraraj IV took the throne, the Chauhans had entered a golden age of cultural and military expansion. They were scholars as much as they were soldiers. Vigraraj authored the Sanskrit play Hari Kali Natak, and his reign was marked by the construction of intricate structures, patronizing the arts heavily alongside the military. This expansion reached its absolute peak under the dynasty's most famous ruler, Prithviraj Chauhan III. He launched rapid, aggressive campaigns, absorbing surrounding territories across northern India into his domain. Prithviraj's court matched his military ambition with intellectual brilliance, famously hosting the poet Chand Bardai, who chronicled the king's exploits. By the late 12th century, the Chauhan Empire was a terrifying military superpower, simultaneously serving as the cultural heartbeat of Hindu India. But that supremacy was about to be tested. The Ghurid Empire was expanding from the northwest, setting the stage for an inevitable clash between Prithviraj and the ambitious Muhammad Ghori. This tactical map details the First Battle of Tarain in 1191. The opposing forces met on the plains, and the disciplined Chauhan lines completely broke the Ghurid advance, culminating in a massive victory for Prithviraj. As Ghori's forces fled, Prithviraj made a fateful decision. Adhering strictly to the Rajput honor code, he refused to strike a retreating enemy. He let Muhammad Ghori live. 1 year later, Ghori returned. In the Second Battle of Tarain, he abandoned traditional combat, using sudden, deceptive flanking maneuvers before dawn. Caught off guard, the Chauhan formations collapsed, and Prithviraj was defeated and killed. The code that governed Prithviraj's victory in the first battle became the specific vulnerability exploited in the second. With the fall of Ajmer, the primary obstacle to the Sultanate's expansion was removed, shifting the center of political power in North India for the next 500 years. The fall of Ajmer did not extinguish the Chauhan bloodline. Survivors retreated to establish fiercely independent, decentralized strongholds, like the imposing stone fortress of Ranthambore. Here, Hamir Dev Chauhan took the throne, defining a concept known as Hamir Hat, a stubborn, unyielding commitment to honor and asylum, regardless of the cost to himself or his kingdom. That commitment brought the wrath of the Delhi Sultanate. Alauddin Khilji laid a brutal siege to Rangalore. Unable to breach the walls by force, Khilji resorted to bribery, buying the loyalty of two of Hamir's generals, Runmal and Ratipal. The betrayal was cataclysmic. The traitors contaminated the fort's only water supply with cow's blood, leaving the Chauhans trapped, parched, and facing a grim reality. In 1301, they made their final choice. The women committed Jal Johar, a tragic water immolation. With nothing left to lose, Hamir Dev led his men out of the gates in a final, fatal charge against the Sultanate's army. Ranthambore proved that the Chauhans could not be broken by pure military might. They fell only to internal betrayal, actively choosing total annihilation over the humiliation of surrender. This identical pattern of fierce defiance and tragic betrayal repeated itself at the Jalore fortress, where Kanhard Dev Sonigata and his forces were laid waste under similar circumstances. Yet, despite these catastrophic losses, the lineage refused to die. The Chauhan bloodline adapted, moving south to establish resilient branches in Sirohi, Bundi, and Kota, regions they would hold for centuries. Their journey is one of the most compelling in Indian history, from mythical, fire-born protectors at Mount Abu to the doomed but glorious defenders of the motherland. While their centralized political empire ultimately fragmented, their ideology of resistance never wavered. It became the cultural bedrock of Rajasthan. The narrative of the Chauhans concludes not with the map of their territory, but with the survival of their specific behavioral code. 8 centuries later, the documented refusals of Hamir Dev and Prithviraj remain the foundational stories of Rajput resistance.